All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I think this is going to be Fluff Tube edition, so watch your P's and Q's here, John. I got John D'Souza, paranormal investigative FBI. How do I even label you? What's your credentials here? It's to me, I've always thought it was the strangest title ever. The paranormal, like there was a paranormal division in the FBI.
Never. And they try to keep it that way. And they were eventually they were very upset when they found out the kind of stuff I was up to and what I was working. And they took steps to make sure once I retired successfully from the FBI, they actually took steps to make sure that no FBI agent was ever a believer or a person that dabbled in the paranormal. They changed all the psychological tests that they do for special agents. They call them the D'Souza changes, and they put into the psychological test. They sent it to me, like people from the headquarters sent it to me, and it's just a bunch of questions they added to the psychological test to say, you don't believe in UFOs, you don't believe in these are all the mandatory yes questions. Otherwise, they're disqualifiers. And
So if you
you
say
don't.
you believe in UFOs or any of that stuff, you can't be in the FBI.
Well, it'll give you a lower grade on the psych
Oh, so they
evaluation.
want controlled drones.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Well, that
As a matter
says
of
it
fact,
all to me.
I posted on my Twitter today an article about how the standards have lowered so much for FBI agents for new hires and people that they want as special agents in the FBI, and the standards have just really tremendously lowered, and that has to be addressed.
Don't they
Uh,
hire, like, I have a lot of Mormon friends that are FBI. Don't they hire a lot of
yeah.
Mormons?
They do, just because it's
Yeah.
easier for the background checks. Because you know about that drinking and drugging, man. It'll ruin you every
Yeah.
time in the national security test. Not because not because of the drinking and drugging itself, but because people just lie and exaggerate about it all the
Right. And
time.
Mormons are
And
more by the book. I know. I
exactly,
know. I got friends that are Mormons, man. The dude didn't drink it.
exactly.
I don't think he was a virgin until he was like 40.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Just saying.
yeah.
I'm just saying. Anyway, all right. John, so you've told me some stories that you've come across that are just almost unbelievable. I believe in this stuff. I know this stuff exists. But you've dealt with UFO activity, you've dealt with ghosts, paranormal.
Yeah.
Is it much more prevalent than we know?
Oh, absolutely. Especially now as the phenomena is growing. I have a friend, L.A. Marzulli. You've probably had him on your show.
Yeah.
He's a tremendous thinker. He's a tremendous thinker. And his slogan, his eternal slogan is, UFOs and aliens are real, they are burgeoning, and they are not going away. It's growing, it's growing and growing. And I'm not talking about just the Miami Mall incident, which I have ready to
You believe
discuss
that
with
was
you.
real? Did you get any intel on that?
Yes, I got lots of intel on it from many different sources, including law enforcement sources and even military sources.
We
So
have to
we
say
have,
allegedly, though. It's allegedly. We have to
Mhm.
talk like that on here. It's YouTube.
Yeah, you can say allegedly if you feel like the aliens are going to sue you if you say something wrong about them, then yeah, we can say allegedly. But I think at this point, we can just say it is what it is, and it's real depending on what you believe real is. So if you believe real means something that's completely physical, like you, for instance, like you or me, something totally 100% physical, then under that definition, it may not have been real, because I believe that these entities were real, but they, like I've always said in my extra dimensionals and everything else I've ever put out, these creatures are not completely physical. They are extra dimensional. They are not interdimensional, which means something totally wrong. That's why they're trying to use that word. But they are extra dimensional because they are from outside of our dimension. So, very often, here's one of the hallmarks we've had from these alien invasions, which, by the way, in order to be a true investigator, these incidences, they seem to have in common just two things, just two things. They seem to have in common, and I will cite for you all of them that have been occurred in the last 2 years. But there's many of them, and they only have in common that now the alien creatures happen to be 8 to 10 feet tall, 8 to 10 feet
Yeah.
tall, and this is common in all these incidences that have been happening, both on our continent and on other continents, also in South America, in Europe, and other places. They seem to all now, they all seem to be 8 to 10 feet tall, very large, larger than any human really is possible. It's unless it's like some terrible gigantism human that has some terrible sickness. But
But
they're eight to
aren't
ten
they
feet
kind
tall.
of like aren't they kind of translucent? So they're like half in this
Yes,
dimension, half in the other. Because
that is
I had
that.
Gene Decode on that was discussing
Mhm.
this with me on my channel, Nino's Corner.tv, talking about how it was almost like they were partially in this dimension. They weren't fully here.
Exactly, exactly. And that is the second commonality that we have with all of these incidences that are happening across America and across the world is that number one, they are 8 to 10 feet tall. And second one is they are partially translucent, ephemeral. They are partially, at least partially, uh, they are extra dimensional. They appear to have people will shoot bullets at them, and the bullets will just go through. Will just go
So
through. No effect.
could they be hologram technology? Could they be government technology?
Um, the answer to the first one is no. They're not just they're not just holograms.
So
And
you
the
believe they're
second,
coming through in another from another dimension.
yes, I do, and I also believe that they are the cabal is actually using portals and conjuring, for lack of a better phrase. They are conjuring, they are manifesting, they are creating these portals and obligating these alien entities to come through and exist in our plane for short periods of time, really, is what it is. So it kind of is it's kind of like sorcery science
Like
mixed
black
together.
magic science type stuff.
Yes, yes, like the sort of thing they do at CERN and other places as well. It's all sorcery mixed with breakaway science. That's what we're looking at. And
So let me
another
ask you
thing,
this. Let me ask you this, John. Are they here to stay, or are they just visiting for lapses of time and then going back into their dimension? Or are they here permanently?
uh, no, they are temporary. They have a hard time holding on to physicality, but they're not holograms because they are actually partially physical, and they can manifest physicality for short, intense bursts as well. That's why it's very harmful when there's talking heads that say, "Oh, all of this is it's just a magic trick. It's just holograms and blah blah blah." The reason that's harmful is because they are not just holograms. They even though bullets can pass through them and things like that, but uh, the problem is this is going to happen again and again. And the first person that goes up to these entities and says, "Hey, so and so told me you're just a hologram. I don't have anything to fear from you. And I've got my gun and I can shoot at you," like they did at Miami Mall. They
Yeah.
shot they shot many people. Apparently, everyone in Miami
Really?
has guns, and they shot at these creatures. They shot many people shot guns at these creatures, and the bullets went right through. So they could have responded by saying, "Hey, I just proved you're just a hologram, so I can attack you," and all that. Well, the day that happens, somebody's going to get their heads cut off, and that's what we're trying to avoid right now.
Well,
Because,
I don't
like I said,
understand. If our bullets are going through them, wouldn't they have the same problem with us? Wouldn't they just go right through? I mean, because they're not really here.
no, no, because they are able. They are not holograms. They are manifested extra-dimensional creatures. So they can have bursts of pure physicality. You see, that's why they can't. That's why, okay, we have to look at the other examples that have occurred. If let me see, I don't even need to share a screen for
So
this.
these things, are they evil in nature? Are they demonic in nature?
Um, you know, the only person that can really truthfully answer that is a person who has confronted these creatures physically and then through their spiritual discernment felt from the creatures, you know, evil or good or sometimes neutrality, where they just don't want to be there. They've been forced to be there and they just have no preference regarding humans whatsoever. But the only person who can really answer that is somebody who has physically confronted these creatures and felt through their spiritual discernment. Because you feel it every time. You
Yeah.
always, when you confront alien entities, you feel what they are, and you feel their intentions. So
Gina said
that's
Gina said that it'd be like you walking through your house, like they kind of get pulled into this dimension, and it'd
yeah,
be like one of us just walking through our house, and the next thing you know, we're in another dimension, walking through their reality.
yes,
Your reality all of a sudden changes, and you're somewhere else, and you're half in your house and half somewhere else, and you're wondering what the
yes,
hell's going on. Is that what's going on
yes.
there?
It sounds very good. Yeah, Gina is extremely perceptive because that's what I believe is happening here, and that's one of the reasons why you had all these at the Miami incident. First of all, let me see the Miami Mall incident was on January 5th. It was on January
Yeah,
5th. It
was it?
says
Yeah, it was. It was a new. Yeah, it
2024.
was longer, but
Yeah,
you're right.
and the cover story that was used was a group of teenagers were throwing fireworks at each other and resulted in the arrest of four teenagers. Okay, so that's your cover story. You have to grab that, look at it, and analyze it. Well, it looks like the fireworks explanation was necessary because of because of gunfire. Because apparently everyone in Miami has guns, and they started shooting at these aliens. So how do you cover up the sounds of the guns? You have to say, okay, it was fireworks. Okay,
Got you.
and then you have to say it was a big riot. Four teenagers arrested doesn't sound like a big riot to me, but
No.
that's what they put in the reports. And then I received other intel from law enforcement that this was a real. The cover story that was used was actually an incident that had happened previously, like 2 days before, or something like that.
Mm.
And it was a real incident that really happened, but it was a couple of days before. So the police authorities were directed to use that story as the cover story because they had some real physical evidence of it, because it actually did happen. I don't
Could
know. Go ahead.
these teenagers have opened a portal by accident somehow? Because I've heard that was also a story.
Yeah,
Gene said that they were messing with some kind of technology that they could have made at home, frequency type technology that opened up a. They needed the power from the mall. They plugged it in at the mall or something like
right,
that, and
right.
the machine kind of started opening up these portals. Could that be? Is that what you're hearing?
There were several witnesses who saw that and who reported that they did see a group of, I guess, young adults, I would say, young adults who were dressed kind of flashy. He described it just kind of flashy. And they were wheeling around what looked like a television VCR device. And they were just wheeling it around. And then they found a place to plug it in and use the power from the mall, like you said, and they were able to start creating a portal and start creating that, and that portal started to manifest some kinds of creatures that came out of that thing. And
So
like I
these
said,
kids knew. So do you think these kids developed this technology and then knew they
um,
needed a bigger power source, a more powerful power source, and plugged it into the mall to make it work?
no, I don't even believe that those were kids at all. I believe that they were probably young looking adults who were agents for the cabal, who were funded and sponsored, and were probably what you call sort of like a special forces team, flyaway team. that is able to go places and do ceremonies and rituals to manifest whatever the cabal wants at that moment.
So,
That's what
so in
I
effect, so in
think they
effect, this
were.
could be the beginning of the government playing the alien card.
Oh yeah. Well,
Wow.
it's been the beginning, but it's not really the beginning, because like I'm trying to tell you, this has happened before. We just had it happen. Let me see. We had one happen in Las Vegas. Which was when was this? I'm looking at the info right now. Uh, it was in Las Vegas in a family's backyard, and the backyard family, the same things. 8 to 10 foot aliens. 8 to 10 foot aliens. I'm trying to see what date this happened. This was in September of 2023. And there was a family called the Kenmore family that called to 911. They reported two 10-foot aliens in their backyard after extensive UFO activity right over the neighborhood that was visible to everybody in the neighborhood. And
So,
this was a
would these ones be coming from another dimension, or would these ones be coming from another planet?
no,
If there's UFO
absolutely.
activity,
They are extra dimensional.
okay,
There was mention also from these people of some qualities of what do you call that? Glitching, sort of ephemeral, kind of like, is this thing tuning in? Like a tuning in, like you're changing
like
channels
fading
to
in
get.
out of a reality.
Yes, yes, there were reports of that.
Okay,
So this,
I've seen UFOs over by White Sands. Okay, when I was heading to Ruidoso for a trip, I was gonna go just for the weekend. And I remember driving at night, and I was with somebody, and we looked up, and there was all these. It looked like beautiful constellations of UFOs, and they would fade into our reality, then fade out, fade in, fade out, and then make another constellation. And they were changing colors, and then fade away, and then come back with another one. And then every time I took my phone out, they would completely disappear, like they were conscious. They were conscious of what I was doing. Every time I pulled the phone out, boom, they were gone. I was like, that's
there you go.
incredible. Is
There
it
you
kind
go.
of like that? Because it looked like it was fading
Yeah.
in and out of our reality.
Exactly. And that's why everyone in the world is now coming around to the extra dimensional thesis, hypothesis, where they are actually admitting and starting to really believe that maybe these things aren't fully physical, but they are partially physical. So that's what we have to remember when we're approaching these things. So that happened in Las Vegas. It was a big story at the time when it did happen, because this family that reported it had absolute authenticity. I mean, you could tell they were telling the truth. You could tell that they were being honest and forthright in everything that they were saying. Now, also in Peru, in August of 2023, we had
Alberino,
another. Say again? Yes,
Timothy
probably.
Alberino. Is that who you're I
Um,
I just had him on as for an interview for Nino's Corner. Is that who you
exactly.
refer to?
Yes, I'm referring to the Peruvian village that was attacked by what they call the face peelers. They call these, which kind of implies that they've had this experience before. But yeah, on July 11th, they had of 2023, they had an attack on their village of these creatures that were, around 8 feet tall. They were around 8 feet tall, and they were very scary looking creatures that also had some that quality, Nino, that we just talked about, of the ephemeral, kind of like not completely solid at times. And the reason we found that out is because why? Because in Peru, apparently, nobody's supposed to have guns, but they all apparently all the men of the village had guns, and they all produced them, and they started shooting at these creatures. They started shooting at them. Of course, what happened? The bullets went right through, no effect.
I also
Okay,
heard they were hovering over on a hoverboard or something like
that's
that. That's
right.
what Timothy
That's
Alberino
right.
said. Yeah,
Exactly.
and
They
they
were also
actually abducted a little girl, and
right.
she knocked off one of their helmets. Supposedly, I don't know the
Well,
full
that
details.
that's what I'm talking about. That little girl apparently had some involvement with one of the creatures. They were trying to kidnap her or something, and then they ended up taking these creatures had a lot of weapons on them, and so they one of them took out a knife device, and slashed the little girl's neck. Okay, so now think about that. How is that possible if there were bullets passing through them and they were like, kind of glitchy and didn't really
Right.
seem like it.
That's exactly where my mind went right now. Like, how could she knock off their helmet? How could they take out of a knife?
Right. Exactly. But it's because of what I just said. That's why people should not tell anyone that these things are just holograms. They can't hurt you and blah, 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 because it's not true. It's not true. They can manifest total physicality for short
Yeah.
periods of time. And that's how they slashed this little girl, this 16-year-old girl. They slashed her neck, and we had no more talk about whether they
What's the
whether they
purpose of the face peeling?
I don't know if they actually peeled anybody's faces off, but apparently that's the name that the villagers had for them. That they in Peru at that time.
Yeah, they were
But you know,
attacking specific villages, correct? Do you think
yeah,
maybe this was a beta test, maybe to see what they could do in bigger cities?
that's
Do you
exactly
think?
what it is. That's
Okay.
exactly what it is. And Nino, look, this is not the only incident that, as true investigators, we have to look at in order to connect to the Miami Mall incident. Look, there's also in Brazil, on a hilltop. If people just do a search, don't use Google, use a Brave browser. Uh, but basically, we just had this also happen. This just happened on January. Oh, this just happened January 11th, 2024, this year. We have, and you can find it by searching, two 10-foot tall aliens spotted on a hilltop in Brazil. In Brazil,
I
this just
saw this.
happened.
They
Yes,
showed this actually on trail cams. On one of the trail cam episodes,
yes,
they were showing this, and one of them starts walking down the mountain. I saw this
right,
video, and
right,
this thing was huge, but it looked like it was
exactly,
in our reality. This thing did look over 10 to 12 feet tall. So let
exactly,
me ask you this, John.
huge.
What are they doing here? What's going on? Have they always been here, or are they just arriving? Is it the return of the Nephilim? What is going on here? What can we
Well,
say this is?
Well, you know what it is what you just said before. It's beta testing for the actual invasion, just for things like the Miami Mall invasion that they tried to pull right now, and that's what it is.
So are
That's it's
aliens actually invading us right now? Or are they being pulled in by CERN, by certain devices?
No,
Why are they coming here?
in these incidences, I believe they are being pulled in. They are being pulled in, and they are being paraded by the cabal and the cabal's elements. The cabal is the only body that has the power to create these kinds of portals and to actually pull these entities in here for them to be here. And that's
So
what they were.
this is really what the Bible talks about.
Uh,
This is a spiritual war. This is when these giants are going to, reemerge, I guess, and
yeah.
because they are giants. If you're 10 feet tall, you're a giant to me.
Exactly. And it's it is a precursor. It's the precursor to what the Bible talked about when the Bible talked about this great deception that's going to be coming upon the earth, and that everyone will believe, even the people who are supposedly righteous in their character. They will all believe this great and terrible deception.
So we're not
And
supposed to believe it.
well, yeah, we can't
You're
believe it
saying it's
because
real. I'm saying it could be
yes,
hologram technology. I'm
yeah,
actually saying, I don't know what it is, but it's so confusing. But I mean, we have to be strong in faith, I would imagine.
yes, absolutely. And we have to be strong in faith when we ultimately confront these things, because I think at some point all of us are going to confront these things, and we will
You
have to
think
make a
all of us are
choice.
going to confront these damn things?
Yeah, because it's going to start happening at every mall, basically, or every public
You're going to
place.
go shopping with aliens.
You're gonna be confronted with something that's gonna be very difficult to conceive, and very confusing, and so forth. And so we will have to really look into this and have to see, especially now that all the clues are coming together. We're getting all these commonalities in all of these cases.
You went, your mic cut out. Your mic cut out. Your microphone cut out. Your sound. Hold on, folks. I hope I don't have to send this to an editor. Your mic is out. I mean, I can't hear you.
Now testing,
There you are.
testing. Now,
Cool. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's keep going.
where there's so these creatures, this is going to keep proliferating because, like the phrase that you said was perfect. There's a lot of beta testing going on there, and let me tell you this Miami Mall experiment, the Miami Mall alien invasion, was so successful. I mean, people don't understand. It was successful. And by the way, there were a couple during the whole Miami Mall incident, which occurred. One of the things that's very notable, which occurred just now on January 5th, one of the things that's notable is that I believe the white hats showed up at this incident just in case the cabal had these aliens start killing people in large numbers, which I believe they could have, but they kind of pulled the plug on the operation. And but there were a couple of every single vehicle, and we had hundreds of vehicles there, hundreds of vehicles and everything of the sort
Yeah.
that was
You know, for
there.
kids just shooting fireworks, there was 100 and something cop cars there. I think it was 80 to 100.
Yeah. And the only unmarked vehicles uh, anywhere in the area were a few black helicopters that had no markings. They were special forces army helicopters, and I believe they were there just to monitor the situation to see if it got out of hand and if the cabal had these aliens start killing people. If they did, I believe special forces would have intervened.
Where did
Would
these
have
aliens
intervened.
go after they were seen? Did they just what happened to them?
They
What
go
I mean,
back.
they didn't get arrested. Where
No.
are they?
Yeah, they go back to their own dimensions, and they go back until the next time they are summoned. That's what I believe. That's where
So
I believe they go.
this is like someone this is are they coming from the underverse or like hell? Are they coming from a lower dimension? Do we know? Are they being summoned through lower dimension? Are we pulling them up or pulling them down? How's this working?
Yeah, I don't know which it is. I don't know which it is because we're talking about many different dimensions that exist and dimensions of reality, and we don't have knowledge of that, how that works exactly. But we do see the portals, and we do know that they are coming through. And then the question then becomes why? Why does it's because and the answer is because they're building a program. They're building a program, and the UAPs are part of that. And the alien appearances that now, think about this. Look, when I many years ago, all the aliens were little green men or little gray men. Think about it. It was always that way. It has always been little gray men, little green men, and all the literature, everybody in ufology, they all agreed with that. Everybody said that that's the case. Even even, and when I published my book, The Extradimensionals, uh, in that book, I have that central document that's in that book. That's a document from the FBI that says about an FBI agent who has an informant that's extraterrestrial and that he said everything about. And that document says in it that the real alien entities are from other dimensions and are very large. They are much larger than humans. That was radical thing at the time because at that time everybody said aliens were always little gray guys that are like
That's what
up
I've
to
always been
here for
told.
you. Yeah,
Roswell, the whole thing, they've always
yeah,
been little gray, pale
yeah,
skin,
exactly.
big heads.
Now is the first time that everyone is seeing that alien creatures are 8 to 10 feet tall. As a matter of fact, if you do an algorithm search all over the planet, I mean, don't use Google, use something else. But if you do an algorithm search and you put in there 8 to 10 feet tall aliens. You'll find cases all over the world. And only now, only in the last like year or so, you'll find that. And why is that? It's because the cabal is beta testing this system in order to ratchet up the fear that people have of these aliens. That's
Yes,
always the name of the game. The name of the game is always to push up the fear, push it up further, push it up further, push it up further. And the only way to do that is you have to make the aliens gigantic. You're just not going to have that much level of fear of a 4 foot gray alien. You're just not going to have that much fear of it. And
100%. You're
so
right.
now
You'll be
they've
more
changed
intrigued to approach those.
exactly,
These you'll run from.
exactly.
8 to 10 feet tall, you're gonna be like, I'm out of
Yeah,
here. Isn't that
and
something?
that's the opposite of what the cabal wants. They do not want you to make contact with these things. They don't want you to approach
They
out of
want you to keep
intrigue.
away, maybe because they're holograms? No?
Well, but if they were complete holograms, if this was like a what do you call David Copperfield trick of some kind, then we could ultimately. There's going to be one guy. It's going to be a Nino Rodriguez. Is going to say, "Yeah, I'm not scared of this thing. I'm going to go punch it right in the face if I can." And when that happens, they're going to find out these are not holograms. They're going to find out, just like that little
But
girl
but
in Peru.
ultimately, if the bullets are going through them, my fist will go through it.
If they wanted to, yes. Now
But
that's
then
the
if it goes
question,
through it, I could believe it's a hologram.
right? But then, what if they decide that's the moment for full physicality? This is the moment that you're gonna feel my weapon coming through you, and it's gonna
I
be
have a
real.
feeling
It's
this
gonna
is
be
gonna
physical.
happen. I think
Yeah.
this altercation is gonna happen.
Well, it has to happen because it's the only way to keep on doing what the cabal needs to do, which is to keep pushing the fear up. If somebody were to find out these things are just holograms, that's all they are, they can't be anything else, that's it, then the fear would completely fade in these incidences. See?
So why
Completely.
didn't the MSM cover this? Why if they're out to ratchet up the fear, why didn't the mainstream media cover this? Why is it just internet?
I think they did cover it in a very limited way, like they always do. But a lot of these are what they're called the double trick. The double trick is something I explain always in my books that the cabal loves to use. They love it, and it's a simple procedure. It's having an incident happen, and then you create this cover story that is so weak, so ridiculous, so stupid
Like
that is
Roswell.
this. Yeah, exactly, like Roswell. That
Let the
it's
people
this.
run with it and it becomes
Yeah,
cultish. And then next thing you know, the hysteria.
yeah, because the
Yeah.
cover story is designed to fail overall. It's designed to fail, and then the cabal will have exposed what they wanted to have exposed anyway. And that's the situation that we're in here too, because that cover story was ridiculous and stupid, and we saw that so they wanted to get out that way, and that's what helps the fear, like you were just saying. That helps the fear to ratchet up more and more. And so this situation, it's something that's going to be going on, and it's going to actually come with new elements that's going to ultimately raise the fear more and more. And I'm afraid that the new element can only be people getting badly hurt or disappeared.
Or sucked
When
into
these,
their dimension.
there you go. Now you're thinking. That's it. That's it. That's the kind of stuff
Can you
that we're
imagine
facing.
something like this opens and it sucks people into another dimension? How
Mhm.
crazy that would be! Like people just disappearing
Exactly.
from this dimension forever.
Exactly. And that shows uh, one of the problems when I make predictions.
Mm.
Always, usually the problem with my predictions is that I usually underestimate what's going to happen, and then the things that happen occur or end up being much worse than what I
So could
predicted.
this go along with like obviously ghosts and hauntings? Are they really people from the dead, John? I guess we don't know that. Or are they just
Yeah,
entities from another dimension? We don't know that, do we?
yeah. Well, yeah, but in my book, The Para Investigators, uh, that's one of the things I explain is that extra dimensionality appears from our investigations for the last 20 years, appears to be an element of basically all paranormal phenomena. And one of the stories that I tell there is that there were times when the FBI, back when they were a real investigative organization, they used to do these investigations. Let's say, like a neighborhood in New Jersey just had a lot of UFO activity right over the neighborhood. I mean, directly over that neighborhood for some reason. And for some reason, the FBI had to go and ask questions about it. And then what we found out is that the same people who we were interviewing for the UFO activity, they all had you come in. You would come in, and they would ask you, "Are you here about the Bigfoot sighting that we had last night?" And you'd say, "No, no, we're here to talk about the UFO activity that occurred all over this neighborhood." And they would say, "No," they would say, "No, that's all we saw
That's how they would
was
like
this."
confuse
And
and discredit and disorient people.
they would go into the entire Bigfoot story of appearance, and it looked like the Bigfoot was very intensely curious about them, and almost seemed to be confused as to why it was there. That's kind of the vibe that they told us about. And then you would go to another house in the same neighborhood to talk about, and they would say, "Are you here about the ghost appearances that we had, that we called 911 about? We had all kinds of relatives of ours show up last night, dead relatives, dead relatives, who showed up, and they were solid. They looked solid in our living room and by the fire, and they talked to us about all kinds of different things. And then we were horrified, and we called 911 and all these things."
Wow.
And
So they were running psyops on these people.
well, I don't know
Well,
if it
like they
was
were
psyops,
deliberately confusing,
but it
right? Wouldn't that be
seems could be, yeah, it very much could be. But but to us, it just seemed like maybe there's these portals that are involved in these
mm.
incidences, and the UFOs seem to come through the portals. But then other phenomena, also
Okay, so
paranormal phenomena, seems to go through the same
okay,
portals.
so they weren't out deliberately confusing people. They were actually getting these reports of
Right.
ghosts, of Sasquatch, of UFOs. I thought you
Right.
meant that they were going house to house, deliberately confusing these people,
Oh, no,
messing
no.
up the original narrative, the original
Yeah.
story.
No, they just, in this instance, they just seem to be getting information on what occurred and that night.
So many
And
things enter through these portals, including
exactly,
Sasquatch,
that's what it looks like.
including this guy.
Yeah, that's yeah, exactly. That's what it seems like. So I really, my extra dimensional hypothesis really applies basically to every area of of paranormal phenomena as we see it, even something that seems as physical as Bigfoot. So that's part of this whole thing. But it seems like the things that we need to be wary of is the people who can manipulate, who have demonstrated they can manipulate these portals to use them for their purposes. And so we have to look at it that way, and we have to keep that in mind for when these alien type creatures appear again, which I believe could be happening at any
So you
time.
you believe you really do believe that this is going to pick up. It's going to get more rampant.
Oh,
It's going
yeah.
to pick up in frequency. This is not going to be the first and only time. There's going to be many more times,
Right.
and to the point that
Well, oh,
all seeing them.
and yes, and it is going to happen again only because of how successful this Miami incident was by the metrics that the cabal uses to measure success. What are the metrics? It's how much they were able to gin up the response. You saw the response was crazy.
It
Hundreds
broke the
of
internet.
police vehicles. It broke the internet. Everybody responded to this thing, but they were also able to have all the police follow their orders. Okay, what were those orders? Here's what their orders were: the orders to the police from all the way from the governor's office, let's say, because it had to be from very high authorities. The orders to the police were: do we have a 911 level threat to the civilian population in this mall? That was one thing they said to get the greatest response they could. They didn't tell them the nature of the threat. They just told them it was a possible mass casualty event that we are responding to. That's what they said to them. Then they told them, however, do not engage uh, the subjects when you come across the subjects. And the cops were like, "What do you mean subjects? What are we talking about?" And they said they told the cops, "You'll know them when you see them. That's it. But
Wow.
do not engage." And that is borne out true by the fact that we see in one of the films, and there have been many films put out of this incident. One of the films show an entire police row of cars that are stopped at the mall by the fountain right outside the mall, and they're
I
all
saw that.
stopped. And then you see that creature. It's about 10 feet tall. That is walking by the fountain. I believe on the stairs there, and it's just walking. And not one police officer gets out of their vehicle. Not one. And if there's one thing I know about cops, when they respond to something, they love to get out of their vehicles once they've arrived. They love it because they're able to see everything more clearly and they're able to respond. Well, they stayed in their cars, all of them, for all of them to stay in their cars. That means they were ordered to stay in their cars. They were ordered not to make contact.
They probably
However,
could not believe what they were looking at. I mean, it had to be just
exactly.
mind-boggling.
Exactly. And we cannot ever find out directly because every single one of those police officers, if you can believe it, and we're talking maybe a thousand police officers out there, every single one of them was given the order, and again, this had to come from high up, of non-disclosure, of a personal non-disclosure of the events of that night forever and ever. They
Oh
were
my
all
gosh.
given
And
that.
none of them can ever talk about it, ever. Till they're on
Yeah,
their
not
deathbed, probably. But
exactly.
but but the
Not
truth
really.
is, we're going to see so much more of this
Yeah.
this year going into next. I mean, it's just going to happen more rapid. It's just going to keep picking up.
But also the greatest element of control the cabal was able to keep is that all the officers, the third thing the officers were told was to attend to the civilians and to make sure that they didn't have anything on their phones, any recordings of the subjects, because we're keeping the subjects top secret at this point, something
I
like that.
heard that everyone's phones went black, like they weren't able to
That's true.
record and they weren't able to take pictures. Is that true?
That's true. Yes, that is true. And that could have been done, by the aliens, or it could have been done by the cabal that actually has electromagnetic pulse disruptors. And they could have used those to prepare them all for the operation in general. But the greatest success of this incident is that they were also able to put an extra layer of security. So the phones were all out, blitzed out, but they still were able to order the police to check just in case somebody had a phone that was, like maybe encased in those burlap bags or whatever you call them, just in case they were able to double check that nobody got any recordings of anything that happened. That was key because they don't want too many of those recordings out there. Then the thing is, then people will find out the nature of these aliens, that they
What these
are
are?
extra dimensional, they are partially physical, but they are partially not as well. And they don't want people to know that yet. So that was part, and that is why this operation was so mega successful that they will do it again soon, and they will run it just like this one, except like I said, it may turn out a lot more serious because I believe in the next one that comes, they're going to have some really solid, what I would call solid results, where they will prove that these things are not just holograms, and that will probably be
That's
hurting some people.
terrifying, man. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
this is where we're at. I cannot believe we're living in these times.
absolutely. It
This is
is
insane.
it is crazy, man, what's happening,
I
and the
just
fact that it's just going to get it's just going to get worse and worse, and that's why we need to educate each other. We need to help each other to understand what these incidences are, that they don't fit into the old way of thinking.
no,
They
the
don't
old
fit.
paradigm is gone forever.
Absolutely. And people, that's why, everybody needs to really educate themselves on what these things are, what extra dimensional is, and that these things are
Yeah, I would have
extra
said
dimensional.
interdimensional, but you're saying extra dimensional.
Yeah, they're trying to popularize now this word interdimensional because it doesn't mean anything. It's kind of like the UAP word. It means nothing really. Interdimensional is from the word inter, from the Latin, means in between things, in between. So interdimensional actually means between dimensions. Well, if you're between dimensions, you're nowhere basically. You're not anywhere.
Right.
That's
Well,
what
they're kind of
that's
like that though. I mean, they come from another dimension, but they're not really here, you said.
Right. They are really here though, unfortunately. That's the problem that we have. So yeah, they are really here because there's nothing that exists between dimensions. Dimensions are levels of reality. That's what they are. And so they are so that's not a real thing, interdimensional. But they're just trying to avoid using the true word extra dimensional, because if people start using the true word, they'll start finding out what that means. And then we'll know more about what these alien entities really are and how it works and how we can stop it. You see, that's
Can I
that's what
bring
they're
you on
trying
again in the
for.
next couple of weeks to talk more about this? I have another podcast right now, but
Absolutely.
can we do it again?
Absolutely, Nino. This is my jam, man.
You're
This is the
this is
stuff.
gonna be this is all you, brother. This is all
Thanks.
you. You're my go-to guy on this stuff. Because it's
Thanks so
I
much,
believe
Nino.
this is just gonna pick up pace.
Oh, it is. And it's going to be bad. It's going to be super bad. And that's why it's really dangerous to have people giving pronouncements on this stuff
Right.
who they don't know what they're
Well, who
talking
better to
about.
go to than the paranormal investigator himself, John
There you go.
D'Souza. Hey, John,
Thank
where can
you.
people find you?
You can always find me on johntamaBooks.com. That's my website, and I will be having a lot of stuff on there. And I would invite people to definitely read my book, The Extra Dimensionals. It is available actually in the library system. In libraries, I found out for
Oh,
all
but they
over
can
the
order it at
United States.
John Tama Books.
.com.
All right, send
Yes.
me the link so I can put it under the send it to me right now. Send me the link where I can put it under the description. John, thank you for joining me, man. This has been amazing. Oh, as always, I love your interviews, man. You're always
Thanks so
just
much,
it's just
Nino.
so fun. Thank
Thanks so
you.
much, Nino. You're the
All
best,
right.
man. Thanks so much.
God
All
bless.
right.